but Netflix Sports is where it's at, right? Big time live events.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Netflix Sports Club podcast. I'm your host, Kay Adams, and we have an incredible show for you. Exclusive access. We're going to get you all set for what will be a memorable, historic, fireworks-filled fight night, September 13th, available for you, streaming only on Netflix. It is Canelo v. Crawford. They're duking it out for super middleweight gold. You can stream it, of course, on Netflix on that Saturday, September 13th. We have Jon Anik with us, who's calling the fight, so he'll answer all of my questions and maybe some of yours from at Netflix Sports across social media. Excited to speak with him on today's episode. And we also have one of the stars from Fight Night.
I'm Christopher Hudspeth. I'm a writer at Tudum.com, and I'm excited for Kay's conversation with Jon. But first, Canelo Alvarez took some time to chat with us during Fight Week. Here is that conversation. Canelo, thank you for joining us on the Netflix Sports Club podcast. Just to start, we're just a few nights away from your fight against Terence Crawford. It's going to be available to hundreds of millions of fans around the world on Netflix. What does that mean to you to be able to have this sport on a global platform?
Means a lot. Means a lot. It's a good thing for boxing and for the sport of boxing. And it means a lot for me being in this huge event where it's involved Netflix, Riyadh season. I'm glad to be here.
I'm interested in your mental preparation for this fight. Can you tell us about what goes into training for something like this mentally?
I'm better than ever. I train my mind. I train my body better than ever. We know we need to be patient. We need to be very intelligent and commitment. Just do everything I do in training camp and do everything I know. So I just need the commitment Saturday night, and that's it. Put everything I got Saturday.
What does match day look like for you on Saturday? Can you just take us through what that will be like from the time you wake up to the time that you walk out to the ring?
Oh, I wake up like 9, around that 9, 10. My breakfast, eat something around 1, 2 p.m. And then the time to go to the arena and waiting for the moment.
So 20 years or about to be 20 years as a professional fighter, everything you've already accomplished, what motivates you to keep fighting?
This kind of fight motivate me because this is history. History for my career, history for me, history for my country. And I love boxing so much. No, I love boxing so much. I'm very disciplined. But with this kind of fights, is discipline combined with motivation. So this kind of fight still motivate me a lot because I love what I do.
With you mentioning discipline, both of you are legendary counterpunchers. Crawford does have reach advantage. What kind of adjustments do you make to make sure you're accounting for that reach and staying patient?
Oh, we train especially for him. We have 2 great sparring partners in my training camp, 2 of the best right now. And I can do a lot of things in the ring. I don't do it before with other opponents because I don't really need it. But in this fight, I need to put everything I got. So it's going to be different.
You fought some massive names in the past. What have you learned after some of those tougher fights, whether Mayweather or Triple G? What do you take away from those?
Oh, I learn a lot. You learn from everybody, not just for them. You learn from everybody, make you feel more confident in the ring, make you think more, make you do everything better because you need to do the things really, really good there because if you miss something, it's hard. So you learn a lot from those fighters, for those fights, the event, everything. The experience I had fighting those fighters is amazing.
What else do you hope to accomplish in this sport now that you're doing this massive global fight? What else is there?
These kind of events, these kind of fights. I just trying to do the best is out there and this kind of fights, events, and that's it.
A huge thanks to Canelo for taking some time out of his busy fight week to talk to us. Can't wait to watch on Saturday night. Now let's get back to Kay, who spoke to Jon Anik, the guy who was calling the fight.
The night is here, September 13th, baby, on Netflix. It's Canelo versus Crawford. Jon Anik calling the fight. Very excited for you to school me up on everything I need to see. It's in Vegas. It's bright lights. What is most exciting about this match?
Well, it sounds hyperbolic from the guy calling the fight to suggest that it is the fight of the century. But if we just want to peel it back maybe to a quarter of a century, it is absolutely massive. And oftentimes in combat sports, if you're chasing greatness, it involves moving up a division. Terrence Bud Crawford, in this case, is moving up 2 divisions, but you can argue he's really a guy who realized his greatest success at 147 pounds, and now he's challenging the great, the iconic, the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds. It's a massive fight. Netflix Sports, all hands on deck. I haven't called boxing since the 2010 WBC Heavyweight Championship between Vitaly Klitschko and Shannon Briggs. I'm very excited they called my number. I'm diving into the preparation. I can't wait for September 13th, and hopefully you'll be in the building.
Jon, I'm so excited for you. 15-year hiatus. What is that going to look like? Are we going to have some rust? How are we preparing? How are you attacking this fight with two guys who have never faced each other somehow?
I started covering boxing in terms of my initial indoctrination into combat sports. I hosted a radio show called the Mouthpiece Boxing Show for a while. And then there was this mixed martial arts avalanche that kept coming, and we just couldn't stop it. So I joined the UFC in 2011 and have been doing mixed martial arts almost exclusively ever since, a little college football here and there. But I love boxing. I've always said, and however trite it sounds, when boxing is at its best, I'm not sure anything touches it. How often is boxing at its best? I can't forecast how great September 13th is going to be, but it looks pretty bulletproof. We got the right referee in there to prevent the holding. I think it's going to be an amazing showcase for boxing. I really do.
This is going to a global audience. Some people are savvy with the boxing. Some people will be new to the sport and wanting just fireworks. What can we expect?
So that's interesting, right? Because sometimes in combat sports, the beauty can be in the eye of the beholder. And certainly in the UFC world, if you don't have an appreciation for wrestling and grappling and clinching and a lot of the different particulars that come to mixed martial arts, you could find a given fight to be off-putting or not crowd-pleasing. You know, boxing can have some of those same issues because it is such a tactical sport. Granted, there are fewer weapons, right? But sometimes when you have officials or referees who allow for a little bit more holding and clinching, it can lead to a fight that sort of evaporates before you feel like the fight has actually happened and 36 minutes are off the clock. So Thomas Taylor's the referee here. I think he's the right referee for this particular fight. But I also think that Terrence Crawford is just going to bring the fight to Canelo Alvarez in the later rounds if he can get it there. And I think Canelo Alvarez is going to try to get off to a fast start and bring the fight to Terrence Crawford. You know, in the UFC world, oftentimes we have 13 or 15 fights, tremendous depth on the fight card. We're building out the undercard, and I think part of my job and my task is to help give some shine to all of the athletes. We do have 20 athletes who are competing, and for some fighters, it's actually their professional boxing debut happening on the undercard of Canelo versus Crawford. So big things September 13th, and I can't wait to get to Vegas.
Talking about this ref, take me to these fighters. Let's start with Crawford. Look, Canelo's a whole, I want to talk about his legacy. When it comes to Crawford, I keep hearing about his size and how that's going to impact this. What do I need to know?
Well, he's the underdog because he is the smaller man. You know, for those who suggest that maybe he's in the twilight of his career, that is sort of a negative connotation that I would not place at the feet of Bud Crawford. He does have the reach advantage by a few inches in this fight, but he is the naturally smaller man. He realized great success as a boxer at 135 pounds. This fight is happening at 168 pounds. There are a reason why athletes in weight cutting sports actually cut the weight. It is to gain some sort of appreciable advantage. So it is part of the equation here. But if you look at the analytics, if you talk to the experts, and I do not consider myself as such, a lot of people think Bud Crawford's a live underdog. I don't know where the betting line's going to close, but he is the underdog right now because he has a lot of different ways to win. You know, Canelo Alvarez could suck the life out of the fight a little bit potentially. He could bully him and, be methodical and take his chances. But Canelo Alvarez could also go out there aggressively and try to knock his head off. You know, styles make fights. It's a fascinating fight stylistically. But yes, size is a part of the equation.
With Canelo, that's a household name. What is at stake for Canelo at this point in his career in this fight?
Yeah, you put the question well. Saul Canelo Alvarez, first ballot Hall of Famer. That obviously applies to Terrence Bud Crawford as well. But from a legacy standpoint, what exactly does this fight mean for Canelo Alvarez? He has all the scalps on his resume that you want to have. He has beaten all the big names, many of whom he has gotten out of there with style points. And a lot of people, especially elite combat sports athletes, sometimes are reluctant to fight the smaller man. Now, there have been times when Canelo Alvarez hasn't necessarily had a healthy appetite for the Bud Crawford fight. Maybe it's a different position point in his career, but maybe it's because he's the smaller man. There's certainly parallels to be drawn in the UFC world, right? There's a lot of upside for Bud Crawford as the consensus smaller man, even if he has the reach advantage. He is a densely smaller man. Tremendous upside as the betting underdog, moving up 2 weight classes and beating the otherworldly undisputed super middleweight champion. Whereas for Canelo Alvarez, and people like to nitpick his every win anyway, if he beats somebody like Terrence Bud Crawford, who is a pound-for-pound king, who is an undefeated fighter, who has never met his match in a boxing ring, who is a fellow future Hall of Famer, somehow some shine is off of it because he's the smaller man. So you can understand why at times maybe there has been some reluctance. But right now, what Bud Crawford has done across several divisions, not only I think made him undeniable for this mega fight, this super fight, but it gives the requisite shine to the Canelo Alvarez camp and to that side. That Bud Crawford, a win over that guy, is a legacy booster of the highest order. And even if his legacy doesn't need another signature win because there are so many on it already, you beat Bud Crawford however close to his fighting prime. It's a huge win for his legacy, and there's really not much more for Canelo Alvarez to do thereafter.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got nothing to lose, which is terrifying. Can't really knock him. He's got a little bit to gain, but he's just going to go out there and let it fly, it sounds like. What stylistically, maybe technically, maybe extracurricularly, intangibly, will I notice in watching Canelo?
So one thing you hear combat sports commentators talk a lot about is like a bodily investment, right? Investing in the body. If you invest in the body early, it can pay dividends late. And I can even tell you, like, I remember one time when my 3-year-old kicked me in the side, right? And she's now 12.
Okay.
She got me in the right spot and I was down for like 20 seconds, curled over, right? So investing in the body early, it's been a staple really of both careers. But for Canelo Alvarez to invest in Bud Crawford's body early and just to prove that even if he's not as naturally fast in terms of the foot speed, that Canelo Alvarez's hand speed is lightning, right? And even if he's maybe the more powerful puncher in this equation, to show Bud Crawford that his hands are wicked fast, to make an investment in the body early. And, I think a lot of pundits expect that if Terrence Crawford can weather the storm early, weather the proverbial storm, right, he can realize success late and take Canelo Alvarez into those deep waters, into the championship rounds, and maybe realize his success late. Fascinating potential tale of 2 fights. I don't like when people say don't blink or, this isn't the fight during which to go grab a beer. But this obviously is not only the fight of the year on paper before it happens, it's the fight of the decade. That's not just coming from me. That's coming from people who have been there and done that. So yeah, you shouldn't be getting a beer. And I think round 1's going to be very interesting. Yes, you're going to have a feeling out process. Yes, both fighters are going to be trying to get information and get sort of seeing what the other power and speed feels like from the other. But I think you could get something consequential, something climactic early on in this fight in the first 9 minutes. And I just can't wait to be there, because as a guy who's been doing mixed martial arts, and I know I'm getting a little long-winded here, but as a guy who's been doing MMA almost exclusively for 15 years, there is something undescribable about a boxing main event in Las Vegas. And not only is that our reality September 13th, but the Las Vegas Raiders are clearing out Allegiant Stadium for us, right? This isn't the Mandalay Bay Event Center. This is 60,000 plus Allegiant Stadium.
Who will have a bigger crowd?
It's not, Cinco de Mayo weekend, but it's Mexican Independence Day weekend in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I would be exceedingly surprised if Canelo Alvarez does not have the crowd. But, there are a lot of boxers and mixed martial arts athletes that thrive in that environment, and maybe it takes a little bit of the pressure off when you're getting booed. I think both of these guys are just drenched with all-time greatness that I think the Terrence Bud Crawford fans will be heard from. But There are a few louder fight fans than the Mexican fight fan, and they will be out in droves.
And I think that matters. I've been to Canelo fights. I've been to several, and it absolutely matters to have that crowd behind you, which he always does. It's an advantage. People might not understand that, and it's an intangible for sure. But I think it does matter, and has always helped Canelo give him that little extra bounce that he needs, which I love. And by the way, what did you do to your 3-year-old daughter? Did you deserve that? Was it called for, uncalled for?
So, it's not just the Instagram algorithms that suggest to me that it's like good to wrestle with your kids, right? Like I am not a mixed martial arts fighter. I am not an athlete, right? But I made a concerted effort to wrestle with my kids. And she did wrestle 1 year in middle school because her friends were doing it, but she has since moved on from wrestling. But no, just sort of being physical with them, and they really enjoyed that. And just for whatever reason, she went harder than her older sister and got me. I don't know if it was a liver shot, but right underneath the rib. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, but no, if you point your toes in the right spot, whether you're 3 or 33, a man like me, he can get me down for the count.
John, you have a lot of energy. I feel like you're going to need it because, like you're saying, this might be a huge moment round one, right off the gate. Then you have the entire undercard. What on the undercard are you most excited about? Can you highlight something?
So the co-main event, Callum Walsh undefeated, as is Fernando Vargas Jr., son of the decorated former champion Fernando Vargas. It's a really great showcase opportunity for those young athletes. There are other fighters from a lot of different nations, Guatemala, Saudi Arabia, undefeated fighters looking to take advantage of this showcase. But Callum Walsh has been a guy that the UFC sort of has promotionally been behind. A lot of his fights have been featured on UFC Fight Pass. And this is far and away the biggest fight of his career on the biggest stage against the most significant challenger that he has ever faced in Fernando Vargas Jr., who really looks the real deal. So that deserves the slot in the co-main event, to be sure. We'll see which athlete takes advantage. I expect Fernando Vargas Jr. will be the betting favorite come closing time here shortly. But, Callum Walsh, I think, has that dog in him, as both of our main event athletes do. And excited to see what he can do with the showcase. He's been sort of methodically built for a fight like this. And as a lot of people, not just Tom Brady, say, life is about opportunity. You got to be ready when it presents itself. And maybe some are suggesting this is too early for Callum Walsh. We find out live on Netflix September 13th.
I love that it's on Netflix. Not the first fight. Of course, we had Serrano and Katie Taylor, who are right here beside me. What makes being on Netflix special? I know because you can't, it's an interesting broadcast production. You can't divert too much because boxing fans are very aggressively regimented in how they like to see, view, hear the faces they see. All of that needs to be a certain way. But Netflix also likes to do their Netflix thing. So anything we can expect, or what has that been like?
This is appointment viewing. This really is appointment viewing. And you are going to see, I think, some touches from some of our live production people that I've worked with over the last 15 years from the UFC. But Netflix Sports is where it's at, right? Big time live events. Oftentimes in our little UFC bubble, we talk about the NFL has their Super Bowl and their regular season, which is king. And then we have our 13 UFC Super Bowls because our pay-per-views we felt as big as the Super Bowl. And these Netflix sports, I think, ratcheted up another notch, right? When Netflix dips his toe into the boxing waters, the world is paying attention. My daughters are watching this. You can watch this around the globe on Netflix, and you don't have to search for where this fight is going to be. I'm not sure we are going to have a bigger singular boxing match within the next 10 years.
Wow.
The next superstar always walks through that door. But you have to strike when the iron is hot. And Netflix Sports is getting the biggest boxing event of the decade. And I think most talking heads in the boxing space who have been in it far longer than me would suggest that that is inarguable, at least on paper right now, in terms of how many households this fight is going to be in and how many individual human beings are actually going to lay eyes on this thing. What can it do for boxing beyond September 13th? I don't know. But you can be sure that the entire combat sports world, the entire sports world at large, everybody's going to be paying attention to what Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford are doing come September 13th.
Last one for you, John, and I appreciate the time as you prepare for this fight of the decade, which it's the Super Bowl for boxing, and it's on Netflix Sports globally. So it's super exciting. You've hyped it up. You've gassed it up beautifully. You're talking about strike while the iron's hot. How long will the iron be hot for Canelo? Is it a fair question to ask about?
Yeah.
I guess when I plan on watching this and why it is interesting for me to go or be a viewer, this feels like precious time with Canelo.
No, I think that's fair. Like, what is his Bank of America checking account going to look like on Sunday, September 14th, right? It is going to be a massive payday for Canelo Alvarez. He has earned it richly, right? As the face of boxing, the guy that commands not only opponents, but big time paydays. He is the guy. And it does beg the question, how long will he be around? If he beats Terrence Crawford with style points, right? To say there's nothing else left to accomplish doesn't really even begin to describe it. Would he reopen some light heavyweight aspirations? I don't really think so. You know, at their core, they are all prize fighters, but we do need to appreciate both of these athletes while they are here, because some have suggested maybe Bud Crawford, win or lose, might walk off into the sunset. I don't have any inside informed speculation on that, but Canelo Alvarez has a very fat checking account. It's only going to be fatter September 14th. And if he wins, you know, what better way to go out? We shall see.
Cannot wait between Canelo and Crawford, streaming globally Saturday, September 13th. You are calling the fight. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Big thanks to all of our guests always here on the show. And don't forget, you can leave us a message. You're part of the vibes here at Netflix Sports Club Podcast. Go to speakpipe.com/Netflix Sports Club. You can hit us up, follow us on social media at Netflix Sports. Leave a comment, tell us who you want on the show, what you want. And thank you to everybody who's commenting and helping grow our little community and audience across YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok. I personally love hearing from you. And by the way, do I have a preview of our next episode and what's going on? Of course I do. Coming up, we are talking Matchroom, The Greatest Showman. Okay, this is amazing. Barry Hearn, an icon. Eddie Hearn, his son, an icon. We're going to keep the boxing going. They lead their incredibly iconic promotion company. So much success with Matchroom Boxing. We're going behind the scenes, not just boxing. A little snooker, a little darts. We really do cover it all on this very show. So very excited about that. And let's keep the guests coming.
There's no business that has the drama. If I found out you knew about it, you're done. The ego. Jesus Christ. What is that? The aggravation.
Oh, shit! We need fair judges next time.
The most important thing from my dad is winning.
Netflix Sports Club Podcast is a production of Netflix and Pod People. Plenty of people to thank on both sides. Let's start with Netflix, where our executive producers are Andy Harris, Catherine Hugh, and David Markowitz. Our studio engineer is Scott Somerville. And from Pod People, our producers Buffy Gorilla, Tony Mantilla, and Brian Rivers. This very episode was edited for video by Kai Lee. Carter Wogan is our brilliant sound designer. I'm your host, Kay Adams, and we'll see you next time.